that pen. She gonna, she ain't gonna say.
Oh, he over here for her.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, say remember her?
I'm sorry, I'm in your way. Be careful with my fingers. It's like I'm right here. How are you?
Good.
How you been? I'm good.
Good.
Wait. Obadiah,
You know what
where you going?
Everywhere. Run back.
Roll back. How are you? You okay? Huh? You doing okay? You got it on so you can see how it sounds.
Say again?
You have it on to see how it sounds and it's stacking.
Yeah.
It's better? Alright, we're ready to roll then. Okay. You have it on to see how it sounds. Alright, we're ready to roll. Yeah, can I keep it on for right now? Just right now, okay? Okay, bet. I don't know what that was. Alright, so we're going to try it again. Better audio this time. I will read the pledge of the Sabaeans once more. It is entitled Pa Rahan Shalel Musbatu, the pledge of Sabians. Nakuk Rahun Tayuan Laye Wu-Sabat. I pledge allegiance to Wu-Sabat. Shalel Pa Tahuda Musbat Shabat of the United Sabian Tribe. Wahu Muisar Tahet Masbat Wu Masa, one family under Sirius and Orion. Korea Sahu Rakuk, Sahu Hakum, Sahu Fahum, with right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. Lahekalel Sahu Dahum, Korea Jamud, Sahu Nakush, is for all right overstanding with sound right reasoning. This is our pledge. So before we take questions, I do want to share the next edition of Keeping It in the Family. One of ours, Maltat Anuba. She's authored several books. One of them that I want to promote to the family today is entitled The Maya's Journey Through the Universe. Again, it is authored by Anuba Ariana. Let me see if I want to pull up the correct, where you can look. Contact her if you want to order books. Just give me one moment. It is called The Maya's Publishing. And we'll type in the contact information in the comments. But I want to just show you the cover of the book. She's just finished another book that she showcased today. I don't have the name of that, but again, it's on Facebook. So if you follow our page as well, How to Levitate 101. If you follow our page, I'm going to share her next book that just came out. But let me show y'all a quick picture of this one. All right, again, the title is The Maya's Journey Through the Universe. And the Maya, for those who don't know, many of you may, the Maya is Anuba's niece who tragically and unfortunately lost her life to gun violence. And that prompted Auntie Anuba to start writing books. And the first one was a tribute to her niece, the Maya. So if you all have the opportunity, seek this book out. Every month, we're going to actually promote one of our Sabian family members or something that they write books, if they do clothing, if they do cosmetics, jewelry, or whatever, so that we can keep it in the family. We spend enough of our money with everybody else. Let's turn that around. All right, we have authors amongst us who write books that you can read. as well as, of course, our doctrine. But the Master Teacher is raising leaders, and some of them will be authors. Some of them will be designers, clothing designers, Nubia, apparel. That's one of the ones. There's different ones. So every month we're going to at least promote one of our family members to the rest of the family. All right? So, do we have any questions online just yet? Nothing? All right, I'm going to read something again. I read a portion of it a couple of classes back. This is called Pa Balag, or the Message. It's dealing with time. So the Master Teacher BABAH YAANAN had an experience where these beings came to him and he gave him these words that appeared gold to his vision, and he used to give that to us as part of the message. So one of the readings from that, the Master Teacher saying, we really are not truly aware of the day and time we're living in. In any case, we are in the hereafter, in the 7,000 year, and in the first year of the first 6,000 years of the next 24,000 year cycle, which is called, oh, that's a period. Then the next sentence begins, the dimensional shift has already happened. What so many think will be a physical sign or a detectable shift has already occurred in our minds and hearts of the people. So just look around you and you will see, just as plain as day for yourselves, who is still resisting, who is still listening, who is progressing, who is regressing. There have been so many ways to say the same things over the years in many cultures the world over. Are you a descending being or an ascending being? Smoking or non-smoking? Two were in the field, one was taken. The separating of the goat from the sheep has already begun and continues. Which will you be? So now the Master Teacher is going on and telling us the steps that we can actually take to be counted on which one, because whichever one we are, ascending or descending, depends on the person, because they make that takro or decision if they're going to be one or the other. So the Master Teacher BABAH YAANAN goes on to teach us like this. You must tune in to realign, to raise your vibration to a certain level. Your ancestors, your etheric parents, your family will be there to guide you through the gates when that time comes. You must be ready. You must not let the disagreeable ancestors or outside influences deter you and cause you to descend lower than you are. Two beings will come, Munkar and Nakar, demon beings with demon beings with black skin and blue eyes who will try to trick you with religious questions. Ignore them and think on my own relatives, my own ancestors, and they will fade from sight. You must pass through the 9 gates of death to leave this realm. The gates shift like a second hand on a clock. In each realm are some good, in each realm, beings are there. Some good, others wicked, most trapped over time. Not all are human spirits. Some are demons of other realms, extraterrestrials who came in and could not get out. After a wicked person died, the first 9 hours you linger near your body until all life is out of the brain, and then you can separate. Yet, for 60 to 90 days, you can visit you can visit those close to you. So if you have relatives that you were close to, you can actually visit them for the first 60 to 90 days. Meanwhile, you will be taken by relatives who pass before you to go through spirit orientation on the rules of the spirit world and to see if you will have to come back. Some right away within hours of their death. Others reincarnate into new bodies to live out what they did not complete in this life or suffer for what they did to others. If so, they go into limbo to await a return, while others pass on through the 9 gates. Remember, it seems long to you, yet just like when you go to sleep and hours pass fast in the sleep state, yet in the physical, it's still the same. This happens in death. Then, at 3 a.m., you come to, in one night after death, that same day. Is the same as when you sleep. How time seems so fast once morning comes. It's the same with death. The 9 gates of death must be passed through during your journey to the other side. Your etheric parents can only descend to a certain level themselves. If you have not raised up enough, they cannot carry you. In ancient Egypt, we were always doing rituals that constantly kept you properly aligned and in tune with the planet and the heavenly bodies above. After being assimilated into a foreign land, tongue, and mind, that's talking about us now, and what was natural for you has become foreign. You are regaining knowledge. You are regaining that knowledge by Natharu, the overseers, by way of myself, BABAH YAANANAN. Now, Natharu have given you all a way of guidance called Patarak, the way, to align your mind, the sound right reasoning, which we just read in the pledge. The mind of today's world only reflects detriment, derelicts, debauchery, and perverted thoughts of evil, has truly been made fear-seeming, and the forms of entertainment is a reflection of that demented or diminished mentality, showing the lack of creativity of these disagreeable beings whose objective is to keep you from becoming divine, which you will return to as it is with natural nature. That is who you are. They know this, and they do everything they can to prevent you from returning to your natural nature, which would lead to the rebirth of the divine you. You must return everything that is not naturally for and to you and give it back. Give everything back to them and reclaim your own true self. So I'm going to stop at that, but that's one of the messages that the Master Teacher was given to give to us. All right, do we have any other questions?
I have a question.
Two of them.
About the conscious being, Patara, verse 34.
Let me find that slide. All right. Yeah, I'll take yours so I don't have to hold up the back. All right. So what's the question?
I didn't really understand when he said staying up too late is bad for the melanin works.
Gotcha. All right, so this question is coming out of Patarak, conscious being. All right, so you're coming from verse 33. If I could, I want to start a little before that, and then I'm going to go all the way down to like 39. So keep in mind what we just read about how we are becoming ascending or descending beings, right? Depending on what our mind and our hearts are literally focused on. That which we hold near to us or what we always think about, that's what we can be. That's the direction we can go in, right? So let's start on verse 31, where the Master Teacher BABAH YAANANAN is speaking on the unconscious soul. So 31, the unconscious soul, Ba, can be stolen to control your ether, Hakak, from your Khatat body while it is still alive. 32, if this happens, the conscious being of the Ka, spirit person, looks the same, yet the Ba'ah soul, linking them to their Akak ether, weakens. The Sakan, or power, becomes sluggish, and the person is reduced to the image of 6 ether beings. So that's talking about, again, are you ascending, staying at 9 and going higher, or are you descending, dropping from a 9 ether being all the way down to a 6 ether being? This takes place even though the body, that's right here where the Master Teacher says, the spirit person or you looks the same. So the average person can't tell if you're going up or if you're dropping. However, the soul that links you to the etheric body has become sluggish. So where the soul vibrates faster than the spirit, if you are having your bar taken control of, it affects the ether. So now the soul is being sluggish. It's not moving as rapidly as it would naturally. And you become slow. Now the soul is slowing down and can't traverse the higher realm where it needs to go, right? So now, what can contribute to this? What can contribute to the sluggish movement of the soul? What contributes to it is in verse 33 where you're asking about. So it says all kinds of drugs, alcohol, caffeine, or alkaloid in tea and cocoa and coffee, as well as nicotine, or these poisonous oily liquid that's in tobacco, it affects you, right? So when you intake any of those or ingest any of those chemicals, it also affects the vibration of your soul. There's a reason why the soul has to vibrate. We're going on to other reasons or things that can affect you. Verse 34, the misuse of your genital fluids, and this is for both male and female. That's another thing. In addition to the drugs, the alcohol, the caffeine, the alkaloid, the poisonous oily liquid, the misuse of your genital fluids will also affect you. Staying up too late will affect you. And that's where it comes to what you were talking about. Staying up too late for the melanin works for you as shadow hours. So staying up too late is affecting the production or action of the melanin that's supposed to take place in the shadow hours. What's the matter? Right? So in the shadow hours, the body should be doing something other than staying up. The body must go at rest for the proper release of all these other chemicals in the body. I'm going to go over that as well. That's part of the circadian rhythm. So 35. The Master Teacher is now going on to describe what this is when the melanin works for you at shadow hours. Or it's called melaninic black melaninism or melanite. That's a high explosive in your genes. So the speed that your genes move is telling you the amount of melanin that will be released, but it has to happen in the shadow hours. 36. Hanging out all hours of the night in the red lights also drains your ba'ah, soul, and weakens your akak, etheric being. Because the soul is directly linked to the akak, or the etheric being, it has to vibrate enough for the etheric being to stay linked to it and pull it on, right? We just read in the other part about your ancestors, your etheric beings can't drop. They can only come down so low. So if your soul is sluggish, they can't even come to help carry you. They cannot carry you because you're not vibrating at the level that they can only drop down to. So 37. This is what happens if all those things affect your body. In 37, you become the living dead, like 6 ether beings. And in time, you lose all ability to remember the past or operate within a subjective state of mind. So not only is the etheric, you heard yourself. Not it's all right. So not only is the soul being affected, but you lose the ability to think properly. The key word here is a subjective state of mind. If you drop down to a 6 ether way of thinking, you will never be subjective. Everything will be based on what the 6 ether attributes or attributes to what you see, what you hear, and what you think you feel. Right? All that starts at the spiritual level. Slows down the soul and makes the etheric body unable to link with you. So 38. Now, the loss of the subjective state of mind leads to the next verse, 38. You're now under a trance of nawam, or the spell of sleep. So now you're the living sleep, right? You're walking around and your mind is just not on point, right? So, spell of sleep or ignorance of who you really are, as you replace it with his story, a wannabe in the image of the man of sin by these many names, Zuin, Zion, Sion, Sin, Nanar. In 39, this is the result. All of this keeps happening at an elongated amount of time. Let's say 3 years, 10 years, and and you're thinking that's the 60th being. Your soul is so slow now. This is what happens to you. 39, to lose your mind and be out of your own mind in another mindset, working for them, killing for them, sleeping and mixing with them. I'm going to stop right there. So when I was talking about the circadian rhythm, it's blue. Right? Circadian rhythm, again, it's like natural nature's clock to keep the body aligned and in tune with what? The planet, and then eventually the universe or the multiverse or the omniverse. So in this scroll, actual fact, neuroscience of Wu-Sabat is also in what's the other one? The Supreme Being's Melanite Race. There's also a picture of the circadian rhythm. All right, so yeah, in this book, the circadian rhythm, just to give you an idea of what the body should be doing. So when we say circadian rhythm, there's things in the Western world that prevent us from regulating the circadian rhythm. You have to listen to the word circadian, circle, right, and the rhythm, right? So why is it called circadian rhythm? Or excuse me, the circle, because that's the favorite design of Panathala. Everything's like in a circle or cycles, right? So right here, just to give you an example, verse 159, the Master Teacher talks about, this also removes your ability to regulate your circadian rhythms and energize your brain cells in your body. If the brain cells are not energized, you will always be tired. You always seem like you're just a step behind, or you're a little sluggish. Going back to what? The body is reacting to what the spirit is. If the spirit is sluggish, the body's going to be sluggish, right? So now, let's just read this quickly. Let's begin at, let's start after work. Let's start with 6:30. 6:30 p.m., that's the body's highest blood pressure. 7 p.m., that's the highest body temperature. 9 p.m., which we've been recommended not to eat after 9. Preferably not before 9 and not after 9. Why? Something happens to the body at 9 p.m. other than us chanting. 9 p.m., melatonin secretion starts. If you're doing something other than that, the body is not going to know to naturally release the melatonin. Melatonin is what they have in pills now to promote sleep. So the body should already be getting tired or ready to move into the resting phase of the night or the shadow. That's 9 p.m. 11:30, bowel movements are suppressed. So basically between 9 and 11:30, if you ate earlier, the food is digested and you go to the bathroom. Bowel movements are suppressed now after 11:30. You have midnight. 2 a.m. is when we should be in our deepest sleep. 4:30 a.m., lowest body temperature. So 7 p.m. is the highest body temperature. 4:30 a.m. is the lowest body temperature. 6:45 a.m., the sharpest rise in blood pressure. 6:30 is the highest p.m., highest blood pressure. So about 12 hours, it goes from the highest blood pressure. Now you're going into the rest state. It's slowing down. The melatonin is being released. You don't have to get up to go to the bathroom. That's if the circadian rhythm is being regulated. Now, again, 6:45 is the sharpest rise in blood pressure. Why? Because now you're going to rise and start your day. 7:30 a.m., melatonin secretion stops. So from 9 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., there's a secretion that's supposed to happen. But if you're not resting, the body's doing all the other things. If you're eating late now, the body's trying to digest and break down the food instead of releasing the melatonin. At 8:30 a.m., bowel movements are likely. Many of us can agree, when you first wake up, you go to the bathroom, right? Then you have at 9 a.m. for the men, not so much in women, but we all have it. The 9 a.m. is the highest testosterone secretion. Because in ancient days, when the men got up, they were usually going out to hunt or to war. So they need the testosterone. They need that aggressive behavior. That fluid was happening naturally for us. At 10 a.m. is the highest alertness. So people who sleep late, they're missing that wave. That alertness, they slept right through it. But the reason they're sleeping through it, because they didn't rest after 9, that when the body's supposed to start slowing down, a lot of us are up, we're doing other things. At noon, All right? And 2:30 p.m. is your best coordination. And 3:30 p.m. is the fastest reaction time. Now here in the West, most of us take lunch, if you have jobs or whatever, from 12 to about 3. So instead of us having the best coordination, our body is now trying to fight the food that we just ate. Now we're being sluggish. So the rhythm is thrown off yet again, right? So at 3:30 p.m. again is the fastest reaction time. If you're trying to digest food, you're not reacting at all. You're probably sitting at your desk or you work or wherever you're at, and you don't want to eat. Because the body now is trying to use the acid in the body to break down what you ate. Or you're trying to go somewhere and nap it off, afternoon nap. All right? So at 5 p.m. is the greatest cardiovascular efficiency and muscle strength. At that time, this is funny, because right here is where the cardiovascular, the heart is pumping ready. You have the highest muscle strength. But instead, many of us are not moving because we're in rush hour traffic. Everything they do is adverse to our natural circadian rhythm. So if you go to the beginning of this book as well, where we just read the last verse, 39, to lose your mind, be out of your own mind, in another mindset, working for them, killing for them, sleeping or mixing with them. How does that occur? Same scroll, actually fact number 28, Neuroscience of Wu-Sabat. And let me find it for you real quick. All right, so verse, no, I want to find it. That's not it. Okay, so verse 27, it's talking about the neurons. Again, the brain is affected, which affects the mind. The neurons. And you retrieve them, or thoughts, from the mental reservoir to your personal mind. And each thought becomes your own, or mine, M-I-N-E. 28, like a computer, your link is your sarat, or etheric cord or code. 29, and can be tapped into, going back to verse 31, the unconscious soul, Ba, can be stolen to control your ether. So it can be tapped into and even given a virus called insanity, or as they say, out of your mind, which is what we said in 39, to lose your mind, be out of your own mind, in another mindset. Now watch, out of your mind. What happens? Verse 30, this is receiving thoughts from outside that can make you do things not you. 31, your brain as a computer can also crash down, and you are in a coma state until rebooted. Wu-Sabat is rebooting us. It's actually getting our minds back online so we can get that cord connection again, right? So now watch this, out of your mind, working for them, killing for them, sleeping and mixing with them. Verse 32, others try to put their chips into your mind all the time, such as their religious chip, or how they think, their mindset. Talk and act and even look chips. So what we're saying is it's all being programmed. And that's what they do. This is a deliberate effort to prevent us from becoming divine, which is what I read in the beginning called Kabbalah. All right? I pray that answers your question as far as what it means by not getting enough sleep. It slows down and throws off your circadian rhythm. So you're not moving right. So when you wake up, you're already behind by hours on what the body should be doing. But the body is set on a natural clock. It's not going to play catch up now because you up, I'm going to do that. No, the body's going to do naturally what it should do each and every day. We prevent it by the things that we do. Right? If that makes sense. You have any other questions? Online or anything?
I have a couple from Milton Richard.
Robert Zamal.
So, Robert family, can your medical situation and medication have a bearing of one losing their soul?
Okay, the medical, when you talk about medical or medications and things that you ingest in your body, that can't cause you from losing your soul, right? What happens is the things that we mentioned, those other intoxicants or toxins that are introduced to the body over a long period of time. If the medicine is truly targeted to address the medical affliction, once that affliction has been repaired, you should come off the medicine. Of course, even medicines that some of us are given can become addictive. And if that's the case, you're still taking it, but you don't need it. So what another thing or another route that one can take is if you have to go to a physician because there's something wrong and they diagnose it, quote unquote, and they tell you what it is, now you owe it to yourself, since the soul is endangered or can be, you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion from a holistic person or healer. Because a lot of times the things that afflict us, we can take herbs and medicines or restrict things from our diet. Because what a lot of us have to understand is the illness came from what you was eating or what you were consuming or the environment that you were in. So a lot of times simply removing yourself from that environment will actually help the body repair itself. It's not magic. It just takes sound right reasoning to approach that. But just having medicines or taking medicine doesn't automatically say you're going to lose your soul. You lose your soul, one, by giving it to another, by allowing outside influences to change the way your mind works, to actually move you off of the etheric code of natural nature, and you start living unnaturally. If you do that, now you're putting your soul in danger, because now you're slowing it up, as we just read, and now when you descend in etheric potency, if you go all the way down to 6, that means all the beings that dwell on the 6th ether level and below can reach up and grab you. And if they do that, as well as taking over your mind, you're giving them your soul. They take control of it. But the medicines itself, no. Because you can still take medicine, right? It doesn't leave you groggy. It's like healing whatever that your diagnosis may have been, but you still do your spiritual work, your spiritual rituals. You still chant. You still study your language. You do all of those things that are spiritually influenced. Then that's going to counteract a lot of the other things that would affect you. But if you just take the medicine, sit on the couch, grog out, right, and skip all of your spiritual practices, if you don't constantly keep your link to Parnatharu, if you accept Parnatharu as your overseers, if you accept that, then nothing you do outside on the physical plane should take precedence over the spiritual aspects or development of the self. If you're doing that, then you're not in danger. I pray that answers the question. Any other questions?
He said, when one cannot sleep, is there an indication of demonic possession? And if so, what can one do to rid oneself of such possession?
Okay, so that's really two parts, because just because you can't sleep doesn't mean there's a demon holding your eyelids open. Right. What's happening there is you're doing something, right, during the course of the day, or maybe you're being tired earlier, so when you try to go to sleep, you have to ask yourself, because each person is different. So in your particular case, when you're trying to go to sleep, what are you thinking about? Did you eat a heavy meal and then say, I'm going to go lay down? Are you watching TV or listening to music that affects your vibration in the body and the frequency and irritates the subconscious mind? So now that you're trying to go to sleep, the subconscious mind is trying to address all the things you went through during that day, right? And sometimes you will go to sleep, but because your mind, which is the creator in you, the creative mind is trying to answer those questions of what you did within the last 72 hours. And if you're an analytical person, you're not going to go to sleep. You're going to constantly think about, what I'm going to do this, and what I'm going to do that. So you can't attribute you not being able to sleep solely to contact by some demonic force within you, right? Now, to take the second part of the question, let's say you feel that there is a demonic presence that's trying to get you. If they could, they would have. So you can listen to a class by the Master Teacher BABAH YAANANan called Who Knows the Secret, where he explains that, because somebody asked if there was a presence that was attacking them. However, there are things that will make you weak, and then you call on whatever you think is going to help you, because they're around you, this demonic presence. They hear you calling on whatever it is, whatever name it is, and then they will appear to you as that thing. But they can't get you. You have to invite them into you by your actions, as well as what you think. So if you think you have a demonic presence, before you just give into that thought, because the mind is so powerful, if the mind's eye said there is a demonic presence, guess what? Demonic will be present. So you have to stop that thought and just analyze what's making me think this way, what's making me feel this way. If you feel that things like, I'm not doing the right things in my life, again, we're not here to even expose that or discuss that on any deep level. I'm talking about doing a self-analysis, because even spiritual work sometimes means you have to work on yourself. So if you know that you're not doing everything as you could, start eliminating the things that you know you shouldn't do, one thing at a time. Don't collect it all. For those that have more than one or two or three or whatever, that's personal. So you're working on the person himself. I would simply start to eliminate the things that you know aren't right. And the fact that you feel they aren't right means you know. So if you do know, you start eliminating them one at a time. They become weaker and weaker and weaker till they dissipate and no longer have an influence in your life, right? So you could also look at that as, what's the word? You can look at that as a self-exorcism. But you do that. You don't need an outside person claiming they can remove demons from you, especially if they claim it with a fee. That's the demonic presence. They want to get money from you to do what you can do on your own. So again, if you feel you have a demonic presence, stop the thought right there. Do self-analysis, all the things that you do, you know your habits. As we was listening to a class the other day, the master teacher, yesterday actually, the master teacher says, you can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to the self. The self is the soul, right? That one aspect of the self is the soul. So you can't lie to you about you and what you do. So just do a self-analysis. A lot of times it's really something that you can break. It's more than likely a habit, something that has become a groove in your mind that you feel comfortable with. You have to lose that comfort because it's not right. It's not the natural nature. And that thing that you feel is demonic possession or presence in your life, it'll fade from you, because what happens? When you remove those things, you become lighter. So if you're becoming lighter, now you're vibrating at a faster rate and they can't follow you in certain realms. I do pray that answers your question. You have any other questions? Oh, okay.
So what can one do to alleviate fear? I'm constantly thinking of the worst case scenario, and I can't shake it.
Okay.
Is that a genetic flaw, and what is the resolution?
All right, you actually answered that when you said you're constantly thinking of the worst case scenario. So for those of you who had the mind scroll, either the small one or the white one, or if you had the holy tablets, read chapter 7, the living soul. In that is called a section we learned about last week called the mind, right? So what happens is, as I was just stating, during the course of our lives, we have grooves that we make about what we think about the most. They become grooves in the mind. And it's like an album. That's a track. And if all you do is think of the worst case scenario, you just keep running that track. You keep playing that track over. How you capture that is to observe the mind. What do I think about the most? Why do I think about that all the time? So when those thoughts start happening, you counteract that worst case scenario with the best case scenario. Every time that pops up, stop it. Think of the opposite of that. Everything that you feel is negative or maybe negative, think of the equal and opposite positive of that. What you're doing is catching the mind before it produces the reaction. So once you start doing that, you're going to start leaning toward the more positive outcomes. And the first time you think of something negative, you change it to a positive thought, and something positive happens, you're starting to see progress. So all you have to do is keep doing that. All right? Don't always think of the worst case scenario, because the fact that you have the ability to think, it can't be the worst. The worst is if you're doing things that you're not thinking about. It means you're not even aware that you're moving in that cycle. But because you're noticing it, that's just a groove that you have to fill in with more positive thoughts. And then what happens is you begin to emit a certain frequency that's not drawing the negative circumstances to you. And we have the power to do that. You have to address that. So when you talk about fear, what can you do to remove yourself from a state of fear? It's to face it. Because a lot of times we fear things before they happen, and then they never happen. So you wasted all that mental power fearing something that never came to pass. You follow that? So what you want to do is to make sure that you stay in a positive frame of mind. Even if that means removing people from your circle who always promote negative feelings. Energy is real. The fact that you can think about it means you're feeling it. So what you want to do sometimes is change the circle of people that you're around. Get around more positive-minded people. Let that rub off on you the same way a negative person can rub off on you. And when you start doing that and making that your course of action, then the action will change its course.
No.
All right, we have any other questions?
It said, with the polar shift and the change in the vibration of the Earth atmosphere, should we still adhere to the same prescription when it comes to right knowledge? In other words, is the bar constantly moving, or is it fixed? Nothing
is fixed. Remember, the only thing that's constant in the universe is change. So yes, even the planet, if you read the Pancharak dimensional shift, the planet has shifted, right? So if the planet is shifting, that means the beings on it have to shift as well. So no, the bar is always going to be raised because you should be in the process of the state of becoming. You should be raising yourself. So no, it's not going to be the same. Regardless of what's going on the planet, like you said, the polar shifts and all that, the weather, all of that was foretold. The Master Teacher told us about all of that. So we should have been preparing ourselves physically and spiritually and mentally to actually ride that wave of ascension. Because if you don't ascend, then you can only do the opposite of ascending, which is descending. You can regress, right? So if you're stamped in time about what you felt comfortable of at a certain year or certain time in your life, then when the planet, which is evolving or revolving, and so are you, you have to keep going up. There is no end. I'm only using up because we're talking about progression, higher dimensions, so I'm using the word up, but really is an expansion. It is an expansion of your spiritual body and your soul self. You have to always stay in the mode of doing that. All right? So yeah, the bar is always going to be raised. And once you reach what you think is the bar, then it was too easy. You have to keep going. You can't sit and stop and say, oh, I hit what I was supposed to hit. If you hit it, that means you're able to do more. Can't do better, but you can do more. Any other questions? Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's about the tones, F-A-C.
Okay.
He speaks about those in these two books, The Secret of Tone and Our Tones Labeling A.
Right.
And he said in chant, and the tone of A, bass clef for male and treble clef for female.
Right.
And I just wanted to hear more about that, if you could.
Sure. So when we talk about wavelength A, that is the natural tone that we were created in. Our body's supposed to vibrate on the wavelength of A. So when we say bass clef, because when we talk about A or the note, the tone of A, right? That's on a musical scale. So because we have genetics and genes of our different parents, the women are mostly in the higher tone. So that would be the treble clef, a higher sound when they speak, top tap, a higher sound when they speak. Men are generally on the bass clef, but the lower range or the lower scale on that tone. So that's what the Master Teacher is saying. Wherever you find your tone, be it in the bass range or the treble range or in the middle, as long as on tone A, you're vibrating. Your body's going to vibrate. And as long as we stay on our natural body's tone, guess what? When we say vibrate, the body actually has a hum to it. Just like when you're angry, you could feel your body doing, sometimes people shake. That's because the body's vibrating now at an accelerated rate. It also gives off a hum or a tone to those beings that can hear it, right? So what you have to do is stay in your tone of A. If you stay there in supreme balancement in your thinking, you have what? Subjective mind on all things. So that's what the Master is talking about, that there's just different ranges in the tone of A that are attributed to both male and female, depending on how their vocal cords are genetically orchestrated by way of their parents. That's what he's telling us right there.
One more?
If you have another one, I don't think it's in the line. Yeah.
just was curious on the roles, I guess, per se, of the spirit, soul, and body while we're living here. I don't really.
All right, so the fact that you mentioned them separately, did you understand they are separate by way of modes of vibration and density, right? So the physical body is the slowest and lowest that we can be on the scale of existence, or watching that existence, right? So there's different levels of existence that we actually live on. So inside the body is the spirit, which has its own vibration and mode of density, a little lighter. How do we know it's lighter? We know that the physical is the lowest and the slowest that we are because it can't go outside of the physical plane. Everything about the physical body is only found here on the material plane, such as the 99 elements that compose the body. So when you leave the body and you have the spirit, it now goes to its natural plane of existence, called the spiritual plane, after passing the plane of force. It's separate because the spirit is more akin to what we recognize by looking at you physically as your personality. Those are the conditions in which you operate comfortably in the physical plane. Now, above and beyond that, again, I'm just using the word above because I'm talking about rates of vibration. Above that would be the soul. The soul is much more expansive than the body and the spirit that it doesn't have conditions. That is ashuk, unconditional, where the spirit is conditional and the body is conditioned by way of that. So anything that we express on these different forms of existence is what that energy body is composed of naturally, if that makes sense. So when you say what's the difference, it's merely about the consciousness and the level of and how you express it. If you imagine how open and free a being would be if we all had unconditional love for each other. You're free, right? But if you set conditions, that's like building a wall around what you're going to react to the next person or even to yourself. Because a lot of times when you say the spirit is conditions, that means you even set conditions on how you're going to react to things that happen in your life. And things that happen in your life are not always caused by an external force. Some people have the conditions that they like to pay their bills ahead of time, on time, but if it's late, now it affects them because they set that condition for themselves. So if anything like that in any one of your lives that happens, how will you react? Does it distress you? Does it make you have stress and things of that nature? That's because you set the conditions on what's going to upset you. Where if you're living through ashuk as the soul, if you're living by way of the soul, nothing is going to move you off of that control. Anything can happen, but you're going to process it with the ultimate subjective mind or mentality. So you're going to look at everything different. Everything. How people move around you, just accept them for who they are. And again, as we said last week, then you go forward accordingly. So it is a difference. I think it's in history as well. I think it's in here. Okay, yeah, so let's read a few verses out of this action fact, number 73 again, called His Story. All right, so the Master Teacher BABAH YAANANAN is telling us on verse 203. Sabians, you must know the soul from the spirit, as the spirit is the person related to the desires of the body. 204. So I say, live by the soul, and you will not gratify the desires of the spirit. For the spirit lives by desires, that which is contrary to the soul. 205. And the soul, that which is contrary to the spirit, They are in conflict with each other. This conflict is so subtle that you may not even know what's going on. But the soul is standing on what the principles of being unconditional are. The spirit, it can fluctuate based upon the desires. Because you may desire something between ages of 19 to 25. When you turn 26, something happens. And you no longer desire that. But you still catering to the spirit. Because you put that desire down and picked up another. So it can change, right? So now, 205, which I started. And the soul, that which is contrary to the spirit, they are in conflict with each other, so that you do not do that which is or leads to your physical want. When you're living by the soul, you're not going to do that which leads to the physical want. Yet, if you are led by the spirit, you will not be living by Wu-Sabat or its mental resurrection, power, nupur. Then the Master Teacher goes on to what the unnatural things are in verse 206. The acts of the wicked or the weak, unnatural nature is very obvious. Sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, and white magic or witchcraft of Wiccans, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of anger and rage, selfish ambition, dissension, factions, and envy, intoxication and drunkenness, orgies and the likes, which you read in our conscious being. So the Master Teacher goes on in 207. I warn you, Musbatu, Sabians, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the gift of divine life and be worthy to become Natharu, overseers. 208. Yet, Sabians, the divine seed of the soul is Ashuk, divine love, joy, harmony, peace, order, justice, patience, kindness, goodness, devotion, gentleness, and self-control. Control of the spirit against such things as desire. 209, because desire is the road to sufferings. Do not be deceived. Truth is truth. Fact is fact. And faith is faith. Hope is hope. Seek truth. Seek facts. Avoid faith, avoid hope, and make your wish come true because you reap what you sow. Then he goes on to natural nature works with time, your fate, you're born, you'll die. That is natural fate. That is the fact. You're being created from dust of the ground. You will never die. That is faith. Unnatural hope. You can believe which one you choose. That is will. Yet, you will not change the truth. The fact of your physical fate for your spiritual faith. 212. You who sows to feed the soul from the ether will reap eternal existence as an Etherian and oversoul. 213. Think more of your soul and less of your flesh. So also as you have the opportunity while in the flesh. So like how you ask why you're still alive, you have to just think more of the soul. Why you can do this. Why you're in the flesh. All right, and it goes on. It's a couple of pages of the Master Teacher building on that. All right, so this is in Action Fact 73, his story. If you get that scroll, start like on verse 203, and Baba goes all just touching on the soul, the body, the spirit, the soul, and then beyond that, he goes into the mind. So I just read one verse from the mind part. Two verses, I'm sorry. Verse 224. And as to your mind, remember, it is not mine, M-I-N-E, unless you invent something no one else ever did, or do something never done, or say something never said. For the mind is linked to a reservoir of mental, to which all thinking person feed. 225, and I'll stop right there. All persons, places, and things, all thoughts, thinking linked to the mental. Only when you have a unique idea that you put together a formula that is unique by using things in the mental reservoir that becomes my idea or mine, M-I-N-E. So this is the workings of the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul, which all make up your etheric being, and how you know they exist in the divine matrix. So he's giving reasons how you can tell. The soul exists, the spirit exists. We know the body exists. The first test is to pinch yourself. So, all right, I pray that addressed that question. This, again, read these verses and it explains distinctively the difference between those three aspects of the self.
I have another question.
Talk.
So, it's time to leave it.
All right.
To that.
Okay.
So say you have a friend or whoever
Right.
says, and you want to help them do what they want, but what if what they want to do isn't quote unquote the right thing to do?
Okay, so let's say, just to repeat the question, if you have a friend, and as a friend to that friend, you want to help them do what they want, but then you find out what they want is not really good or positive,
Helping or hurting.
that as a friend, you can't be complacent in that. You cannot have anything to do with them endangering themselves. As a friend, and you want to help them do good, you have to tell them what's good to do, right? And then their choice, by way of their will, if they're going to do that or not. If your friend persists on doing other than what is right, then you have to leave them alone. You have to give them the distance to learn what they're doing is not right. You know what I mean? You be there for them as best you can, but you cannot be a participant, either verbally or spiritually, fundamentally, physically. You can't be a participant in them doing wrong because they may not know it's wrong. They just agree to do it. You know it's wrong, so if you do it, that's double on you because you knew before they did it. So you would not be a partner to them doing something. You would just tell them that's not really, you know what I'm saying, that's not what you should be doing as a Sabian, or they're not a Sabian, as a good person, because the Master Teacher, on verse 214, same scroll, this is what he advises. 214. Be good to all persons, especially to those who belong to the tribe. If someone is caught in wickedness, they are weak. You who are strong should restore them gently. Yet watch yourself, or you also may be tempted. So even though you're trying to help your friend do good, if that what they're doing good is not good, you have to give them distance because you may be tempted by it. And say, maybe I can do that too, right? So right there, help each other with each other's burdens, and in this way, you will both become strong. If anyone thinks they are great when they are not, they only deceive themselves, and time will reveal that they are nothing more than others. So you have to really be careful when you say, I want to help my friend do this, that, and the third. Make sure in helping them that you're also protecting your divine being. Or every action you take has to be catering to the soul, catering to the spiritual development of yourself. If someone drags you back down because you are standing on Lord to them as a friend, you both will be wrong. But it'd be worse for you because you knew it was wrong before you helped them. You understand? All right. All right, any other questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
Wilson Richard said, can someone change their transition date by doing surgery, etc.? Or your time is your time?
All right. You can change your fate, which can result in your transition date by doing just what you said. A lot of surgery. Again, everybody's medical perspective or condition is definitely unique to them, right? But let's take it to the part that you mentioned, Zamal. Let's take it to the surgery, right? And you agree to it. But what led up to you having to need the surgery? At that first instance, whatever you did that later tracked you having that illness, that later required you having surgery, you changed your fate. You did that by the first intake of whatever that thing was that led years down the line to you having to have surgery. So you did it. No one else changed it. And your time now is your time, but you orchestrated that time. You affected the length of your telomeres by doing something that was not natural to you becoming or living out the full length of your preordained time when you were created by way of the telomeres. So yeah, you can change your fate and your transition date by doing things way ahead, years ahead. Like as a teenager, you decided to smoke, and then you smoked for 20 years, and the 21st year, you now have contracted some type of dis-ease to the body. And now you have to have some type of surgery that they're claiming is not going to cure you, but will slow down the rapidity of your demise. If that's the case, you have to reflect back when you was 18 and had the chance to tell your friends and whoever, I don't want to smoke. Had you not done that, that's when you tweaked and took yourself off of the telomere time and you created your own timeline for your demise, as it were, or your transition. So yeah, it's definitely possible for you to affect that. You can lengthen it by living naturally, or you can shrink it by living unnaturally, by succumbing to what? The desires of this physical world, to which many of us as Nagaru don't belong here. Many of us are visitors, and then many of us are residents. And you choose which one you're going to be. I pray that helps. The question. We have any more questions? All right, go ahead. I can't read, then I'm going to pass the class.
So, when you live by way of the soul, and that's the opposite of the spirit, do you just neglect all desires in the spirit?
No. When you live by way of the soul, right, the spirit is going to resist because the spirit is attached to the desires. However, the power of the soul is going to pull the spirit along. So eventually, if you start living by the soul and remove those conditions that the spirit is placed on what you call a comfortable life, the spirit will no longer do that. But when you first come in contact with this overstanding, the spirit is in conflict with the soul, because the soul knows the path back. The soul knows there are no conditions to me involving. The spirit has set these conditions, but if you're living by the soul, guess who's in control? The soul, right? In conjunction with the mind that has control of all of that. So again, although the spirit is in conflict with the soul on this particular plane as you live your life, again, as I said earlier, when you start to remove those things, those desires, those bad habits, guess what? Now the spirit is going to start to mimic the soul. So that means everything in your body is now lining up. Body, spirit, soul, mind. The four-part you are one now. So all of the debris that constricts the flow of outer dimensional energy through your sarat or your etheric cord or code is now aligned. So you can see through the other end of it. Even if it's only mentally, through the conscious mind, you can see through the other end. So when you make the call or contact with Planetaro, you're always dialing the right number. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be so much in control that you accept living by the soul. Because a lot of us know it and won't do it. Why? Because I just read off a list of things that you should do just to be good physically. And how many of us, not y'all listening and not y'all here, but how many of us may have thought that's a lot to do? Right? When you read the 42 confessions that's found in the 24 Elder Scroll, how many of us can read all 42 and answer in the positive? At best, you're going to read and see the things you need to change, which means now you have to start to begin living by the soul, and those other 42 will actually be answered in the positive when you're in the judgment mode. All right? With that, I'm going to pass the class to my small Caffrey. Come on. Okay. Come on. So it's Don Murray. Okay, let me see. Let me go up. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
All right, so the next question is from Don Murray. It says, Rob back when we saw. Thanks, Sobek, for listening to me and sharing kind words in the word of our beloved Master Teacher. It helped me. It helped. What time is the vortex? Oh, that's the question. What time is the vortex open for souls going through orientation? And when does it close? And also, it's a 2 vortex being entered since some are leaving. So I don't know if you meant is it true or 2.
So the vortex
for orientation opens at 2:30 a.m. and it closes at 3:30 a.m.
Come on, Obi. He's fine. He does that all the time, but he's fine. Come on, just put your hat on. Put your hat on, please.
At the last question, you rock until the last question. All right, I'll see you soon. All right, good. All right, so the first part of the question is, you answered what time the vortex opens, you told him. Then he says what time it closes, but the second part of the question is also, is it two vortex beings entering since some are leaving? Are they leaving, I guess he asked, are they going through the same vortex coming and going?
Obi.
I know. Obi.
Making his debut. Remember this face.
Right.
Yeah, yes, it's the same. If you go to spirit, the physical you, what's it called?
The spiritual you after physical you dies?
You find it in there that
Right.
there's a vortex, same vortex that opens at 3 in the morning.
That's right.
And that one beings to come through and go, come and go.
All right. All right. The next question is from Milton Richards. Knowing that there's secret societies that control the world, the country, and so on, is there anything that we should pay attention? Is there anything that we should pay attention symbolically to this election?
I think those of us who know about elections, it really don't matter in America, right? Because we all know how the voting system works here. Those of us who know, they have this thing called the Electoral College. And the Electoral College is really the representatives who really choose the president. So the vote of the people don't really matter. Their votes is called popular votes. And usually, when the popular votes line up with the electoral votes, they'll put it out in public and you'll feel like, hey, we won or we lost. But in some scenarios, a popular vote may be higher for one candidate and less for another. But the Electoral College can still pick the one that's less votes.
Right.
And that's what most Americans don't pay attention to. So they're not the one choosing the president. Now, whoever gets chose, whether it's the female Kamala or Trump, it's still a prophecy fulfilled by the Master Teacher. You know why? Because he had told us that Trump will be here for 2 terms. But we know he won already. And the way it's looking now, he might win again.
That's right.
And he also told us that in this land, there will be a female president as well, right? So either one wins, it's still a prophecy fulfilled.
Right. All right. Next question is from Milton Richards. He's asking, can you expound on the concept of letting go as far as this physical world? And what is the pro and con of that concept, letting go?
Letting go of the physical world.
Yeah.
Well, the best way I can tell you is what we learn in the scrolls. Live for the soul. Most of us live for the body.
Yep.
And since we live for the body, we often it's gonna make you wanna only do things that's gonna satisfy the body. And at the same time, the real aspect of you that's still gonna live on after the body decomposes or get cremated is the soul you. And that's the aspect of you that we should be preparing for. Now, that doesn't mean that live your life in preparation for death, right? All the time, because when you look at the ancient Egyptians, they lived a lavish life when it was physical. Because you look at their tombs, when they open it, it's full of jewelry, gold, all that type of stuff, right? So that tells you they still lived the best of life in the physical, but they never ignored the spiritual journey. So they knew that when they make that journey, they wanted to be prepared for that level as well. But we shouldn't just constantly just think about death or constantly just think about life. It should be a balance. So we should be doing stuff in the physical. You should live good while you're physically here. have the best of things. Don't let those things control you. You can gain them if you want to. You can have a nice car, you can have a nice house, you can have a nice life. However, on the spiritual journey, you also should prepare for that as well. You know? So letting go just means simply don't be attached to the physical world, because the physical world is temporal, it's temporary. And the afterlife, which is the real life, because the fact that we say afterlife, we know that we're talking about life after life. So that's the real aspect of you. That's dealing with the ether you now. And since that's the real you, this physical world is nothing but an illusion. So it's just letting go of the illusion of the physical world. Anything that holds you back. So if you think about the physical life, it could be many things that could hold you on the physical plane. It could be family, it could be anger, it could be ego. When you start learning about the planes of existence, there's a couple of things that you're supposed to let go. You're supposed to let go of your desire. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't leave the physical plane with having the desire of the physical world. Because what's going to happen is you'll be a spiritual being desiring things of the physical world that you don't have nobody to participate in. And as you keep going up in those scales, is another level to overcome. So another thing you have to overcome is attraction. You're attracted to things that you see. But to get out of, let's say, the plane of force, you have to overcome attraction. If you don't overcome attraction, you could be stuck on that plane. In order to get to the mental plane, you gotta let go of the ego. If you haven't let go of the ego and you're still about yourself, or me, everything is about me, you can't get to the mental plane. That means you ain't gonna be able to pass the plane of force to get to the spiritual plane, to get to the fourth plane, which is the mental plane. And when you have the mental plane, of course, your mind is linked with all minds and so forth. So
Where can you find that?
you can find that in you go Science of Healing, Older Scrolls, Science of Healing. Oh, you ready that? Yep, Science of Healing. It definitely tells you in there.
Okay.
These are the levels you gotta get over the things.
I have a question with that. So you were speaking about the planes. Can you reach those while you're still in the physical?
Can you reach those planes?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you become a master to be able to do it, because remember, when you transitioning, you're being forced into those planes, right? But if you're a master and you have the ability to go as you please, you can go to those planes. Because think about it, who's telling us about those planes? A master. It's a master who told us what's going to happen, because they either been there or they went through it. You know what I'm saying? Or they was taught about it as well. So when you become a master, like the master teacher, because when you go to the last page of Cycles of Life and Death, you'll find he'll tell you we're supposed to become like him, meaning a master of heaven and earth. 720 being, master of the physical and a master of the spiritual. So yes, if you're a master, you can go to those planes. But as a high master, you're not going to want to, because those planes are still lower planes from the highest plane. So you're not going to want to say, I want to go to the plane force. I know it's going to happen already. But some person, or some of us, may want to go for the experience. But just like Earth, you don't want to get caught up in a plane, and now you're in the plane of force thinking, oh, I'm good. Now you want to leave and don't even remember how to leave. Because that's what happened to us here. Many humans on the physical plane, they don't know how to ascend. And they got to the point where we got so comfortable on the material plane, some of us don't want to ascend. We don't even have the notion to ascend to a higher plane of existence. If I'm not mistaken, it's masters that don't even want to come to this plane. And some of us love the earth plane. There's masters on the higher plane, they'll never come here. And some of our children who come from there don't want to come here, where they're born, right? And then the mother has a miscarriage. Sometime in those scenarios, it's the child. When they came here and they felt the energy of the material plane, it was too low or too disagreeable for them to want to stay here, and they forfeit their own life. So it comes off on the physical side as miscarriage.
Right.
You understand? But sometimes it's the child himself saying, I don't want to go down there.
I have another question from Milton Richards. When someone is ostracized all the time and feel alienated, is that a figment of their imagination, or is that person being tried and prepared for a bigger mission elsewhere?
It depends on the person, right? Because when you look at us as a race, the Nagara race, you can see how we're being ostracized all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a figment of our imagination, right? Because we can see
Yeah.
the obvious, how the system is systematically try to keep our people down. Systematically make sure that you cannot get to a certain level of success in certain fields as your counterpart, like another race. So now when you're dealing with personal situations, person to person, if anyone is ostracizing on a personal level, you just have to evaluate what's going on in that scenario. Are you doing something that makes them feel like you shouldn't be around them, so they push off a certain energy to you?
Mm-hmm.
Or you probably seeing things, you know. So it could be in many things.
All right. How can you know? How can you know if you're a visitor or a resident on this physical plane?
Well, the master had taught us one time. He said, a person who's a resident, they do things normal like everybody else on the planet. So they say things that everybody else say, and they live their life the same way. They'll have all the wrong answer. Like for instance, you ever hear people say, we're carbonated beings, and they'll be like, hey, because melanin is carbon. That's a resident. That person don't know biology, or chemistry, I should say. Right? They don't know chemistry, because if they knew chemistry, they'll know that melanin is not just carbon. It's a formula, right? So, a visitor knows things on a high level, and they will say things the same way. A visitor says things like, the average person, if you talk behind somebody's back, the average person, what they say, they be like, you say, do you like people talking behind your back? What is most people gonna say? No. That's a resident. A visitor will go, that's the only place I want someone to talk about me.
Right.
And people go, what? Behind your back? But behind, he's like, the problem is most people don't know where behind their back is. They think behind their back is here. But behind this is right here. You see that? So behind your back is actually in your face.
That's right.
So when people make the statement, they go, I hate when people talk behind my back. I'm like, no, that's the only place I want them to talk. But only a visitor understand that, and a resident, they just be lost. They'll be stuck. Some people right now are stuck listening. They're like, but brother, behind your back,
Right.
it's behind your back. I'm like, no, behind.
Right.
This is my back. Behind this is right here. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so it's certain ways that a visitor says things and a certain way a resident says things. When you're looking at Sabians, the hyper information that we have given to us by our avatar, we say things like a visitor, and that's why many residents have a problem with what we say. So we would say Adam of the Bible is a white man. Black conscious brother go, no, the original man is black. We go, we ain't talking about the original man. We talking about Adam.
That's right.
That Adam is not the original man.
That's right.
Right? And then, or it's many concepts like that people have a problem with us because we don't say things the way other people say it. Put up a video, and we tell people that the word Africa come from the Arabic word Afrikia, which simply is faraka, which means to separate or divide. Well, that's an answer given by a visitor. A resident gonna say, well, actually, Africa comes from Sextus Julius Africanus.
That's the visitor's answer. I mean, that's a resident's answer. Because you got that from Wikipedia. You know what I'm saying? That's not true. You know what I'm saying? That person is a Christian who just happened to be visiting places. But this is not where the name Africa come from. Africanus is just a Latinized form of the word Africa. But the word Africa comes from an older language than Latin. You know what I'm saying? So you can do this all day with things that we teach. So our teachings is proof that our information comes from a visitor. Whereas most people's information on the planet is from residents. You know?
We have a question for Ramesses or Moses. It says, Rabat Muisar, why was Job a servant of the Anuna?
I don't know.
All right.
You heard that before?
No.
I thought Job, like if you go to the book of Job, Job was just, Job was the average religious person.
Right.
Who just really prayed to the Most High and just loved the Creator. And unfortunately for his love, God and the devil abused him. You know what I'm saying? So.
Right. All right. Same them all, different question. What beings were scared in the land of Nod?
What beings were scared?
Yep.
I don't know what beings were scared. Most of the people in the land of Nod was used to that land,
Right.
and they was okay with it. The Master Teacher would tell us that modern day land of Nod is like New York City. The people that's scared in New York, I can't. You know, you got scared people everywhere. Yeah.
Right.
Probably not from there.
So in the scriptures, the person who would have been scared to go to the land of Nod would have been who? Cain. Because he was kicked out and he didn't know about that land. So him not knowing about the land, he was afraid of the people that lived there. But that's as far as I could go with that.
Agreed. All right. Y'all have questions? Type them in.
I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, well, the Aquarian age, in the science of creation, he just says it's an era of air, which utilizes laser beams, video and ultraviolet rays, etc. Okay, but in the science of healing, he talks a little bit more about it, but I don't know, I still just can't really grasp it yet. If you can expound on that.
Okay. And in the science of, what's the second one you said?
Science of healing, if you want.
What page you on?
73
That's the verse or the page?
page.
Okay. Oh, I see what
But
you're
he'll
saying.
bring up era of air again. That's say it right here.
Now, what's the other part he told you about the parent agent in that book?
And science creation, he just says it's an era of air. I just don't really.
So when he's talking about air, he's talking about ether, really. So what happens is, like he said in this one, the Aquarian age is a period of time of the end, when the unknown begins to assume its true place in life with its owners. So what is he really talking about? Well, we know that the Aquarian age, or the age of Aquarius, is the name that the devil gives it. We call it the sun cycle, right? Now, we know at that time, etheric beings, right, do come in this time zone and give us information. Now, if you're looking at the Master Teacher, he would be that Etherian that's here in physical form, giving us information for the era of ether. Because this the information age where everything that's being poured out now is from an elder, where some stuff, when it gets to a certain level, it may not be tangible for a person to get a direct reference for it. Because look at what we're talking about previously. We're talking about the plane of force. Those concepts is now etheric stuff. And most people can't grasp ether realistically. Because that's more like the best term for ether would be in English is like spiritual. And we dealing with spiritual things now. Most people can't say, okay, prove this factually, because now if we're talking about communicating with our ancestors and things of that nature, that's an etheric concept. I can't prove to you that I talked to my grandmother. You understand? That's my personal thing. And when we're going through etheric experiences, what are they? Lonely. Because only you have that experience. And you can't tell me and try to punch it in my head that you actually did it and expect me to believe you. Now, if I'm on my spiritual journey too, and I'm etherically sensitive, I'm going to accept what you say, because that's your experience. You understand? And I'm going to leave it there. Or, if I can connect with you on an etheric level, because I know how to vibrate, I potentially can know that you're telling the truth because I know what you're saying. Meaning, you say something to me and what you went through, because I went through it as well, I can say, hey, I feel you. I've had a similar experience. So, in the Aquarian age, even though it's an information age, is also an era of ether, because that type of information is being poured out as well. Even scrolls like, let's say, life after death. Who can write about life after death?
Right.
You know, a person who's a scientist, most scientists are cocky. If they went to school, the university, they would look at that book title like, now what this crap is going to be about? Because in their mind, they're saying, no person could write about life after death. Because you would have to die, come back, and write the book. Right? But because we're in the era of ether, and we have a master that's here from the etheric realm, he can tell us those concepts. Now, everyone is not going to accept what he teach. But guess what? That's a good thing. Because it's not for everyone.
Right.
Because some people will be receptive to the teaching, and some people won't. Unfortunately, this information is to help people on the planet. But if the people on the planet are not intelligent enough to see that, so mote it be. They do what they want to do. But the information is here. If a person really wants to know what happened when they transition, we have the answers. But you don't have to accept it if you feel skeptic about our teaching. Just go to church and listen to your pastor. Or talk to God. Because people say they talk to God all the time, right?
Yeah.
Go ask him. Or whoever that person is. So listen to this part. It says, the Aquarian age is when the natural resources for man's inequalities and abilities not commonly known will rise to their full capacity and the source of their third eye. Once again, it's talking about matters that the average person is not going to understand. However, if you get to the point where you can activate your third eye, what you're doing now is you're tapping into your higher senses now. Because your third eye is nothing but clairvoyance. You know what I'm saying? That means you're able to see into other dimensions now. Most people who say their third eye is open, they're lying. Because they would know certain things. You know what I'm saying? They're lying. Once your third eye is truly open, you will see things on a certain level. If your third eye is open, you can't tell me you don't know who Dr. York is. Because what's blocking you from realizing he's an avatar? Right. You should see right through him. Because your third eye is open. Right. But this is how you know a lot of people are people who say they're spiritual, but they're really not. There are people who read spiritual books and they saw the fascination, they got fascinated with the spiritual concepts and probably overindulging it, but never really had a teacher to teach them how to do certain things to get to that level. Some people have a spiritual lineage where somebody, a grandmother or grandfather, even their mother and father, was already on a spiritual journey. And then that person may be tapped in where they can see spiritual things. Right? Things on a higher level. But even they would need someone to help them control it, to be able to decipher what are they really saying. So in order to do that, you will need a spiritual guide or a spiritual master. What's another title for Baba? We know he's the warner. We know he's the master teacher, but he's also the spiritual guide, our spiritual guide. And even in his time, when he was younger, he had a spiritual guide. So our master have another master that's his spiritual guide. You know what I'm saying? That he told us about. I think his name was Mahmud. Mahmud.
Yeah, Master Pyramid.
Yeah. So Baba is the person for us to try to get us on that path as our spiritual guide to get us to that level. Because he had a class one time when a person was like, I'm trying to find a master. It was a class. And Baba responds to him saying, you are the master. You know what I'm saying? You are the master. And it goes back to movies where a person, I don't know if you saw that movie with The Last Dragon, and the whole time he went out looking for the master. But at the end of the day, who was really the master? Even though he was taught by a master, that master trying to get him to realize he's a master too. Once you start mastering these techniques, you will eventually become a master. So the master teacher is here for us to put us on that journey, too, for us to open up our inner capabilities that we have, that is already in us. Because we all are descendants from the higher planes anyway. And that's why when you say descendant, when we would say Baba, he is a descendant. Or we say the Riskians or the Netaru or Natharu, they are descendants. Now, so most people would say, how can a higher being be your descendant? Easy, because descend means to what? Come down, right? So they who came down, they descended to us.
That's right.
And gave us information from up there, the stars. And that's why you find, when you connect to the Egyptian culture, you'll find that all of them had some type of connection to the stars. And star people always descended on their people and gave them information that most people didn't have on the planet.
Right.
And that's what we're going through right now in the sun cycle, which they call the Aquarian age.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. We have online question. Ramsey says, how do you figure out if you are a celestial being or a terrestrial being? How do you figure out?
I'm going to say this. In reality, everybody is a celestial being because everyone comes from the stars. It don't matter who they are, right? Everyone on the planet comes from the stars. And everyone on the planet has some type of star beings that's primarily responsible for their DNA. When you talk about say Caucasian people, they're celestial beings in the sense of the Pleiadians are their overlords. That's their parents. And they're from Pleiades. That's not on Earth. Right? When it comes to us as Nagaras, we would say our overseers are the Netaru or the Riskians. They are not from here. So, being that they're not from here, those are celestial beings. And we as their descendants are also celestial beings. Now, when you're on Earth, you can change and transform yourself from a celestial being to a terrestrial being. Meaning, once you cut yourself from the spiritual world, you have become a terrestrial being. That means you're an earthling, and you're no longer acknowledging yourself as a deity or as some type of being that's from the stars, because celestial just means from the stars. Once you get to that point, now you severing your own connection by becoming this type of person. Now, some people are solidified in the physical realm, where any form of spirituality, they don't want to hear it. They just don't care about it at all. And then you have those of us on the planet who hear about spiritual sciences and are attracted to it. And that's because we're working with something different in our DNA to make us want to go beyond the physical. Because you got to think about it. The physical world, a person has to realize that the physical world is the lowest plane. How do you know? Every religion teaches you different aspects. So if you're a Christian, you know that there's a high plane, and they'll call that heaven, right? And then there's a low plane, they'll call that hell. If you have to do a comparison between earth and heaven, where does earth is closer to? Heaven or hell? Because if you ask a person, is God down here? Some people would say, yeah, he's in all of us. That's cool. But where's his domain at? In some celestial place. Now, you're down here in the earthly plane. You being in the earthly plane is proof that you're on a lower plane. So if a Christian wanted to say, okay, you could equate this plane to a place where evil people get kicked at. I'm going to show you why. If a person is a Christian, there's a conflict in the Bible where there's God, children or sons of gods, right? Or I should say the fallen angels. To be a fallen angel, according to the scriptures, the fallen angels were what? Kicked out of heaven and sent where? According to the Bible. To earth. So, if fallen angels who were like evil beings was kicked to earth, this became like a prison for them. So earth is like a prison, you know what I'm saying? For fallen angelic beings. You know what I'm saying? And we all are here now on this planet and can't see the difference between beings from up there and beings down here. Yeah.
I have another question from Milton. It says, family, as far as race mixing, I read that it would take a prolonged period of time to get that out of a Nagaro's physical body. Can that be a source of punishment and bad karma for a Nagaro, or am I reaching?
In our ancient culture, we used to respect the laws of genetics as Nagaros.
Right.
So that meant that there was laws or rules of natural nature, and these rules was this: in order for a particular species or a particular race of people to exist, they would have to mix within themselves. That means if you're Asian, in order for the Asian population to keep existing, they would have to mix with another Asian person. If a Caucasian was to keep on mixing, if they was to keep on multiplying, in order for a Caucasian to multiply, they have to what? Mix with a Caucasian person.
Right.
Same thing with the Negroids. If we are to keep our race how we are today, you have to keep mixing with Negroids. Now, unfortunately, because we're being ruled by Adamites, right? Or the Canaanites, or whatever name you want to use, they have taught us that race mixing is okay, right? And they taught us that because of their genetics. You see, when you got the strongest genes on the planet, there's no need for you to mix with a lower dimensional being. When I say lower dimensional being, different races on the planet is a different dimensional being. Negroids are non-dimensional beings, and everybody else is below that. So if you're a higher frequency being, why would you want to mess with someone that's a lower frequency being? That means your ancestors are on the highest pinnacle of the totem pole. Once you go and mess with someone that's lower than that, you bring down your own ethos. In our culture, we teach that when a Nagaru, let's say a Nagaru man was to mess with a Kakaso woman, because he functioned on 9 ether and she functions on 6 ether, in order for their bond to be good, she can't just willfully come up. You first have to come down and be one with each other. So that means he would have to come down in ethers,
Yep.
and guess what? In our culture, she gains a soul,
Yep.
and raises up to 9 ether, while he becomes her servant. This is why when you look at, when I say servant, I mean spiritually. This is why when you look at most relationships between blacks and whites, you notice that there's something different about the black person. Meaning, they don't act like a typical black person no more. You know what I'm saying? They act like those people. You know what I'm saying? And that's only because that's the only way they're gonna have a bond. I see certain actors and rappers who marry them. You'll notice that they flicker, almost like they bipolar now. They will be around the black people and talk disrespectful because they think that's the black thing. And then let's say they go on a white show. I think I saw Kanye go on Helen DeGeneres. All of a sudden he's sophisticated. But on Sway, you don't got the answer, Sway. But all that respect for a white woman, but none for your brother. You know what I'm saying? But they can't see that. But he was suffering from the same problem because at the time he was messing with Kim. You know what I'm saying? So he loses ethos. You know what I'm saying? So black people lose themselves when they mix.
Yep.
That's just one level. They lose themselves physically and mentally, right? Another level is genetics now. When a black and a white person come together, you gotta understand that that's 2 different natures. That means Caucasians have a nature of how they are, and Africans have a nature of how they are. When you bring those 2 together, you have a child that has 2 natures. Bipolar. That means they got 2 poles.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they're gonna act like this, and sometimes they're gonna act like that, because of the 2 type of genetics that's working in them. You know what I'm saying? It especially affects our women too, because here's the thing: our women are the record keepers in our race. In every race, the women of that race are the record keepers. The Asian woman, she is the record keeper for the Asians. The white woman, she's the record keeper for the white people. The African woman, she is the record keeper for African people. Now what happens is, if a black and a white person come together and mix with each other, and there's a woman and a man, most of the time, most of the time, for one, we know on a genetic level, that's the topic I'm on, she is going to alter her genes now. Because now, instead of her genes, it's supposed to be protected for the Negroid gene, she just inserted a new genome inside of her genome.
Right.
A new gene inside of her genome. So now, she now has the Picasso gene in her DNA now. Because remember, anybody a woman messes with, the DNA of that person stays with her. Right? And forever. And of course, Baba switched it when the woman was getting married and said 9 cycles or 7 cycles.
7 cycles or 9, yeah.
Okay, brother. But it stays with her. Also, and scientifically, you can find it scientifically, that when a woman and a man come together, for some reason, his genes stays in her body, right? And you can look this up. Scientists are now talking about it. So you got a question, brother?
Yeah, I was gonna say I could agree to that, you heard? Cause I was messing with somebody, you feel me? And Shorty had like, I don't wanna go too deep, but like, Shorty had little issues, whatever. She was battling demons, you feel me? And then more or less dealing with her. I ain't think like after we were done, I guess trauma bonding, whatever you wanna call it. I still was getting nightmares, and I was thinking about situations she went through, even though I ain't go through it, but I felt like I went through it. Weird, it's very weird, right?
Yeah. It's not even weird.
It's really true,
happens.
like, it's really true, like, that shit, like, I mean, part of my mouth.
Yeah.
It's real true, like, you mess with somebody that, you smell me, that's tainted. You feel me? I'm not saying I'm perfect. I could be tainted too. I don't know. All I'm saying is like, I got a good soul, but I saw after the aftermath that I'm still affected. I'm still affected to this day. Like, that's why I can't deal with no female now. Like, any female that comes towards my way, I'll be like working on myself. Because, I had to tell them that because I don't want to draw spirits to them too. I don't want them to deal with me and all of a sudden things from my past that I'm thinking I acknowledged and healed from when I didn't thoroughly. You smell me? I'm trying to be politically correct. I don't want to read number 6 over here, you heard? I try to read number 6 over here, you heard?
I mean, we have
This is my first time over here.
It's good that you
Yeah, it's my first
he
time
can
over here.
explain to you how that transference of energy, how that would
It's
take
energy.
place.
That's what my mother told me. She says it's all energy.
Yeah, and it's good you brought up that point as a brother, because what happened is this. Oftentimes we talk about how the woman is affected, but the brothers can be affected as well.
Right.
The genes may not stay with them, but the spiritual force stays with them.
It's a fact.
Exactly. Over time it will go, but you're still affected spiritually by your partner as well.
And it's been 2 years, so that lets you know that shit's real. You feel? I mean, my fault. It is real. You feel me? Because energy for real, like for real. I agree with that. I really agree with that.
All right, we have a question from Milton. He's asking, how important is regimen or discipline when it comes to spirituality, knowing that we are not like the other races on the planet? So how important is that discipline?
It's very important because one thing for sure, when people think of spirituality, they think religion. So most people go to a church, go to a mosque, go to that. But what happened is, when you look at all those religions, they all have some type of physical connection with some type of race. So for instance, if you become a Christian, the image of the prominent figure in that religion, his name is Jesus. I don't care if you try to draw a black one all over the world, Jesus is a Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? You could draw a black one, you could think, if I tell you close your eyes and think about Jesus, you're not going to see a man with an afro. You're going to see Charlton Heston.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
But the reality
My
is
mother
this.
taught me better than that, girl. I do.
Okay, so what happens is this. Unless someone told you that, right? That's the only way that you will see something like that. But majority of the world, no matter where you go, all over the world, there's a Caucasian image of Jesus. All over the world. If you become a Muslim, same thing. For Muhammad, he's a prominent figure in that religion. If you showed any Muslim a black Muhammad, they'll look at you like, that's not Muhammad. Because Google it. Right now, Google it. Every Muhammad is a Arab-looking Caucasian, because that is the religion of the Arabs, right? When you look at Krishna, from where the word Christ come from, right? Krishna is a Hindu. His image is a Hindu. Who practiced that religion? I should say his image is an East Indian. I always get that religion, right? So his image is an East Indian. Him being an East Indian lets you know who are the people who actually made that religion. So when you're looking at Christianity, white man's religion, right? Looking at Islam, Arab, pale Arab religion, which is another white man again, right? And when you're looking at Hinduism, East Indian religion. Now the question is, what is the spiritual connection for black people? You know what I'm saying? Because all these religions, they blatantly let you know all over the world they are not black people, right? And since they let you know that, what it's telling you is that your spiritual connection is now cut. Because at the end of the day, you at the end of the day still is going to be giving your prayers to someone that doesn't look like you. You know what I'm saying? So if you pray to Jesus' image who looks like a Caucasian, right? You're giving your spirit force to the Caucasian. If you pray to Allah and only by way of his messenger, Muhammad, you still giving praise to their people. Because if Gabriel or Jibril came to Muhammad and the Arab world think that it's all about them, then to them, Muhammad is one of them. You know what I'm saying? And since he's one of them, Jibril must have been one of them to give one of his people that book for their people. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming, I see you. So, when it comes to spirituality, for us as black people, and for anybody else, because I wouldn't recommend another person, another race trying to worship our deities. Worship the deity that makes you feel good. But for us as Negroes, when you look at the walls and you see the pictures that we have up, all the deities in here look like us. And some of them don't fully look like us, but the point is they're black. So when our children say, who's Tahuti? We say, Tahuti is a black man. You see his skin? That's a mask. You know what I'm saying? We say, who is Asar? We show you. Asar. You know what I'm saying? Who is Asset? A woman, a black woman. These are our people. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, if we get it to the point where we can get all our people on that frequency, you'll be giving your spirit force your answers. So it's very important to have some type of spiritual connection. That is also, when it was in a physical form, it had to have been something that looks like you. You know what I'm saying? So you got a question?
To be honest with you, I'm sorry, brother. I told you, I come from, different background.
I mean, if you got a question, hit him with the question.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Yeah.
And me personally, it's not a question, it's a debate, actually.
Okay, well, this is question and answer class. You can build on that after.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, like,
Nah,
question.
that ain't it. This ain't that time.
No, type of time is after the
I was just gonna say simply that all those deities are our deities. It was stolen. All those deities, everything you hear from Muhammad order was our people.
Okay.
All they did was take it, steal it, put it to their to put what's comfortable to them, and what could device us so they can control us. Those are all our people.
So let's put it
like
as-
everything you hear, Hercules, Greek mythology. Those are all our people.
Let's put it as a question.
I'm just keeping it 100 though.
I'm saying, according to our doctrine and our records, let's put it as a
The
question.
only thing that's different from your doctrine than other doctrines is that you guys respect the fact that those are our ancestors. Other than that, they're all our ancestors.
Okay, so the question then would be, are all deities the same?
No. So what happened is this. So here's the thing.
Okay.
So
No,
okay, so,
you good.
My fault.
You good. No, you good, fam.
so when you're looking at modern religion, like the brother said, they will plagiarize.
Mhm.
When you plagiarize something, right?
Right.
The people that you say is who they are is not who they are. For instance, Jesus. In African spirituality, is there a person in African culture called Jesus? By that Greek name? No. But is there a person who they stole this story from? Yes. Is that person Jesus? No. Because Jesus is a made-up character from this character. So who is Jesus in African spirituality? From the farthest to the oldest point. In ancient Egypt, or ancient Tamil, or ancient Kemet, that would be Har. In ancient Sumeria, that would be Tammuz. And so forth. those are the ones that will relate to blacks, right? But those beings, if you was to see Har and say Jesus, he will not respond to you because that's not his name. Just like ISIS.
H-A-R-R.
And if you want to look it up online, there's some people call him Hero
Right.
or Horus,
Horus.
right?
Horus.
So yeah.
Right. That's the Greek rendition of his name.
Let's see. And then you gotta understand this. Some characters in the scriptures are not even real people. Or not even real. Meaning, when I say they're not real people, I mean like they're characters in the book. Because even let's say the Jesus character again. What many people don't know is that even that character, the fact that I could show you that where it come from, that character was actually created. Like there's a person who actually created the Jesus character named Flavius Piso. Joseph Flavius Piso. Look him up. He is a playwright and he actually created the Jesus character. So when people go to church and they praise Jesus, they actually praising a character. You know what a character is? That's like watching a movie. Let's say we watch Thor and you actually go home and say, I praise Thor, right? Even though you just watched the comic. You know what I'm saying? So what this guy did, he made up, he took stuff from ancient Egypt, took stuff from ancient Sumer, and put together this character. He even put characters in there of himself. That means he said, you know what? My name is Joseph, so anybody who's named Joseph is going to be me. So he put himself in the book. So you get Joseph in the Bible, who's that? The stepfather of Jesus. And that's actually Joseph Flavius Piso, meaning he put himself in the story. You know what I'm saying? Other cultures do the same thing. Tahuti. Tahuti is in ancient Egyptian culture, ancient Tammanian Kemet culture, Tahuti will be the scribe of the gods, right? There's a book out there called the Kabbalah. You ask a person who wrote that book, they're going to say Hermes. You say, who is Hermes? They're going to say a Greek person. They'll show you a picture of a white person. Straight up, white person. Hermes don't exist. They did make a statue, but this dude don't exist. Hermes is a rendition of Tahuti. So the Kabbalah is nothing but the sacred wisdom of Tahuti. Stolen, because they don't really know who Hermes really is. You know what I'm saying? So if you talk about the all concept, and a person who read the Kabbalah, they know about the all. Because it's in the Kabbalah. You know what I'm saying? Who else? Khonsu. You ever heard of Hercules? Hercules, that character was taken from Khonsu. You know what I'm saying? So all these deities, like you were saying, all the deities that people worship did come from older deities, but they're not the exact person. It's just from where the story may have came from for them to create their version of it. So today, people got the Trinity concept. Now, even though the scriptures don't tell you nothing about the Trinity, that's a religious concept that they just accept amongst each other. Meaning there is no quote that says the Trinity. You know what I'm saying? But that concept is still an ancient Egyptian concept. Because the Trinity in ancient Egypt, we have several. You had the three masters, the three rays, a Tun ray, and one ray. You had the Blessed Mother, Ashtet or Isis, the Holy Father, Asar, and the Son, special Son, Har. That was the Trinity then. Here's another Trinity. The body, the soul, the spirit. In ancient Egypt, we had many Trinities. In fact, we had a quadrity.
Yep.
And our quadrity always had a woman a part of it. So we had Asar, the Blessed Father, Ashtet, the Blessed Mother, the Son, Har, and the real Holy Spirit in our culture, which would have been who? Anyone who knows? Khonsu. You know what I'm saying? And this is why in Masonry, right? Yeah, Egyptian deity. So Khonsu has a mask where he has two faces, one facing this way, one facing that way, and with wings. Well, in Masonry, on the 33rd degree, you get a 33rd degree and they show you a bird with two faces looking in opposite directions. That's where they got that from. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's culture on the planet, everybody's religion, all stem from ancient African culture. But most people are not going to tell you that. Right. And going back to the whole thing, however, the deities in all these other cultures are similar, but they're not the same. That's just the whole point. They're similar because they was plagiarized. And if they're plagiarized, it came from something else. So yes.
So I wasn't too off.
No.
Right?
No.
Oh, all right. 'Cause I ain't want nobody to look at me like, oh, he's the devil advocate. He's
Nah,
trying to think,
nah,
oh, all right.
not here. Not here. You got questions or whatever, we're gonna build.
Word. Well said, brother. Well said.
It's all right. Thank you.
All right, there's nothing online at the moment.
Yeah, I feel bad because I got to leave now, but then I feel good too because I got what I
Glad
needed
you
right
stopped
there.
by. Glad you
I
stopped
can't
by.
wait till my homeboys is. I'm like,
Yo,
yo,
bring 'em,
guess
bring 'em
what? I
next
feel like, yo, guess what? Guess what? Y'all was right, but guess what?
There's
It's
a
a
little
little
more to
part
it.
y'all was
Right.
missing, you heard?
All right.
That's a fact though. Yeah.
Drive safe.
Yep, travel
He said,
safe.
yeah, he said, yeah, they all are deities, but the names and this and that, these people. So that's powerful because when we pray now, when we pray to a certain name, you know vibrations. Names bring vibrations. Am I lying?
Yeah.
Smell me? So, damn, I just learned something. Yeah, that was powerful, man. That was good. What's your name, brother?
Caffrey.
Yeah, first and shit. Yo, that's crazy. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't think you had it for me. Until you did that. That part right there, I'm like, oh, all right. I was like, the whole time talking to myself, I'm like, yeah, that brother's smart.
He is.
Yeah, he's
All
smart.
right, so we'll see you next week if you can, all right?
No, if I can't, I will.
Bet. We
You
see
see I made space, I'm gonna keep
You
making
did.
more space.
There you go.
Keep making more space.
All right, be safe out there, fam. We
Yeah,
see
you
you.
gonna be here too? You gonna be here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be here.
Oh, I need you here, right? Yeah.
I like that.
All right, brother.
All right.
Thank you so much. Everybody stay blessed.
You too, man. Peace, fam.
Peace, family. Word, that's what's up.
He's spot right now.
That was good. He's lit right now.
That's what happened to all of us when we came on the culture. You
Mhm.
know, especially if you wasn't born in it
Right.
and you just came and heard about it. It was a whole nother level now.
That's right.
You know, so.
Good. All right, nothing online. You got any?
Any questions?
No, nothing online, man. Mm-mm. All right, if y'all got questions, put them in so we don't hear in class.
We'll go class.
We rock to the last question, so that was the last one.
I'll build on something real fast.
Yeah.
Someone had asked me a question last week about how ships leave the atmosphere, right?
Mm.
So there was a sister, and I was telling her about thrust. So we know that when you're traveling, we live on Earth, so Earth have something that holds us down, right? And that thing that holds us down is what?
Gravity.
So, with the gravity holding us down, in gravity, they have terms. When you learn about gravity in school, if you ever took a physics class, they'll tell you that you have forces. And gravity comes by forces. They call it G-forces. So, you got 1G, and it could go all the way up. How does a G happen? So, on Earth right now, we're in 1G. So, 1G is what keeps us to the floor. Now, if you're in a vehicle and it is accelerating very fast, and you get pushed back in the car, per se, the G's went up, even though you're in the car. You know what I'm saying? So now imagine traveling to space. You know, a spaceship, it travels very fast. And as it's traveling fast, if it goes too far, a human's body can only withstand, let's say, no more than, some people go up to 9G, but your face will be looking all messed up. And if you stay there for a long time, you could die, because it starts crushing organs. That means it's the force that pushes you down. So if it's a force that pushes you down, this force can crush you. So think about a ship going upward, going faster than a bullet, right? And how is it doing that? It's doing that by something called thrust, right? So thrust is propulsion. Propulsion and thrust means the same thing. That means an upward movement. So now, how is it doing that? We know that a plane traveling Earth's atmosphere needs oxygen in order for it to move. What I'm saying, why it needs oxygen, because it has its own propeller system where it utilizes oxygen for combustion of the engines to work, just like a car, right? But that means that you need certain formula, there's a certain formula in order for something to combust. So what causes combustion? You need fuel, 1, you need oxygen, 2, and you need heat. Those 3 elements. If you're missing one, there's no combustion. But you need all 3. Now here's the thing. When you travel into space, you still need all 3. But what's lacking in space? It's less oxygen. So what does that tell you about a plane as opposed to a ship? A plane has to utilize oxygen on Earth, right? But a ship has to utilize oxygen that's within itself. Meaning they have to build a ship to have its own oxygen tank in there in order to create the combustion. So how do they do that? You ever see a rocket shuttle and you see them they have one thing that look like a plane, then they have these 2 rockets on the side, then they have a big rocket in the middle. Those are the mechanism that's used to push this thing up, right? Now, what are they using? They're using combustion to push them up. The combustion is happening inside. So they have 2 types of combustion. You have liquid combustions or solid combustions. On those ships, they're using both to send a ship to space. While it's combusting inside, meaning those 3 things happen inside, the mixture of fuel, oxygen, and the heat happen inside. As it happens inside, this is what causes the fire that you see at the bottom of the spacecraft. Because when it's going up, there's a fire happening, right? That fire, at the end point, that is what's caused thrust. Because now this energy on its own, built within itself, is pushing the ship up. So thrust work off of the concept of for every reaction there's an equal and opposite reaction. That means that the same amount of speed that is going up is the same amount of speed that's coming out of the nozzle of the spacecraft. You understand? And of course, when it gets to certain heights, you notice that the missile-like looking things, they fall off. Because it's only to thrust it to a certain atmosphere level. Because it can't go too far, right? Because the only piece of that machine that's supposed to go is the part that looks like a plane-like part. But it utilizes the other 2 just to get it up there. So that was just a concept of that. Now, they created the spacecrafts for shuttles in order to, the only amount of G that they go so it don't hurt the astronauts is about 3 G. Even though the ship is moving so fast. And you know once it gets to a certain, let's say an atmosphere level, or let's say the orbit, then you don't have to use energy no more. Because just like the sun and the planets are moving in its own orbit, right? You can get the ship to a level where it stays in an orbit. That's why we have what's called satellites. Because satellites are in space right now and they stay in orbit, but there's no thing that's moving it. Because what holds the gravitational pull of this solar system is the solar, the sun. So it just have to get to a certain level of its energy to stay within. And Earth itself also have its own, gravitational level as well. You know what I'm saying? And that's what satellites are at. Talking to my mate earlier, and if you think about how, in order for the cell phones to work, in order for these things to work, right? You need some type of satellite. In order for your GPS to work, you need satellite. So who gave humans the knowledge to know that if you send some type of antenna to space, because those are just huge antennas.
Right.
Just like back in the days, people used to have cable, and they used to have this big thing on top of their house. Remember?
Satellite dish?
Yeah, the satellite dish. So there's a bunch of satellites in space right now that certain individuals get permission by certain other people to send them up in space in order to have certain frequencies that they can utilize down here on Earth. And you gotta say, you think a human just came up with that? Someone who's from out there knew that, hey, give them information so they can have GPS, something called GPS. Give them information for those, for the technology they have on the planet. And here's the thing, you knock out any of those satellites, a lot of things don't work here no more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because those satellites are communicating with things on Earth. And they're 20, 35,000 miles away from us. But it's still affecting things on Earth. But that's it.
Alright, I don't see any more online questions.
If there's no more, we could, unless you got something.
No, you got any more questions?
Okay. So, close out then?
Yeah, I guess yes, I don't see no more.
That, ask my brother to come up here. We're gonna close class out. Thanks for tuning in online. Thanks for tuning in inside the bookstore.
Sure. Oh,
I see it.
you see it? You want to answer it or?
Okay.
Let's give it to him. All right. So, appreciate you, Don Mary. We're going to answer one more question. Ramses, you can cancel that. He says on my way. No, we're going to get going. Love you though. Last question. Is the soul and the spirit inextricable link? Because in other teachers I was taught that the soul is an independent vehicle. So he's asking, are they tied together or are they separate?
The way we taught all the time is that they're separate, but they work together. I'm gonna show you like this. If you look at an egg, right? An egg have the yolk, have the bayid, and it has the shell. So we know when you're looking at that, the shell will be equivalent to the body. The bayid, that's the white part, that be equivalent to the spirit, and then the yolk will be equivalent to the soul.
Right.
So one thing is protecting another thing in order for you to get out of here. Now, the expression of the spirit and soul is different. The expression of the spirit is mostly things that are physical. You know, the spirit is always trying to satisfy itself.
Yeah.
The soul is more of a spiritual thing, where that aspect of the soul, that's dealing with your care, your compassion, and all that stuff that makes you care. You know what I'm saying? So he would teach us we should learn to live by the soul,
Right.
and not by the spirit or the body. Right? So that's that.
All right. With that, we're going to say wadu, washuk. We see you all next week. How we cool when we saw.